Hey, hi, ya, hey, hi, oh, hey, ya, hey, yo. Hey, hi, ya, hey, ya, hey, ya, hey, yo, hey, yo, hey, yo. Hey, hi, ya, hey, hi, ya. Hey, hi, ya, hey, hi, ya, hey, hi, ya, hey, hi, yo, hey, yo, hey, yo. Fort Beck Community College, Ukiepino, yo, me too, gashi, dagush, kashka, yogi, piano, yo, wata, pepe, hagi, ktabi, ichachi, ya, bino. Hey yo, hey yo. Hey hi ya, hey hi ya, hey ya, hey hi yo, hey yo, hey yo. Hey hi ya, hey ya, yo. Hey hi, yo, hey yo, hey yo. Hey hi ya, hey hi. Hey ha ya hey ha ya hey ha ya hey ha yo hey yo hey yo. Fort Beck Community College, Ugiepino, yo, me too, gashi, dagush, kashka, yogi, piano, yo, wata, pebi, hagik, tabi, ichachi, ya, bino, hey, yo, hey, yo. Hey ha ya hey ha ya hey ya hey ha yo hey yo hey yo hey ha ya hey ya yo hey ya hey ha yo hey yo hey yo hey ha ya hey ha hey ha ya hey ha ya hey ha ya hey ha hey oh hey oh hey oh. Fort Beck Community College, Ukiepino, yo, me too, gashi, dagush, kashka, yogi, piano, yo, wata, pebi, hagik, tabi, ichachi, ya, bino, hey, yo, hey, yo. Hey ha ya hey ha ya hey ya hey ha yo hey yo hey yo hey ha ya hey yo hey ya hey yo hey yo hey yo hey ha ya hey ya hey ya hey hey yo, hey yo, hey yo. Fort Peck Community College, Ukiepino, yo, me too, gashi, dagush, kashka, yogi, piano, yo, wata, pepe, hagik, tabi, ichachi, ya, bino, hey, yo.
All right. Hau, petuaste, haumitakia pi, ke tayanya hipido, Elijah Hopkins demye. Want to welcome everybody to our Humble Buffalo Chasers podcast. Want to welcome each and every one of you in a good way for joining us here today. And I'm joined again with Mr. Tommy Christian is in the house, is in the hizzy. And then we're streaming at you live from Fort Peck Community College, here in Poplar, Montana. So with that, I don't even know what episode we're on now. It's all just a big blur. It's been a month or two. We're just talking about how it's been a while since we've been able to podcast like this in a good way. We just get really busy and hectic. But before I go on and play catch up, we're gonna maybe start off with a prayer. Dekshi, could you share with us some good words, maybe in we'll check yagaga yakihi.
Echitula whoopila chicha palo tushka. Daya Daya chano hukahe. Amitaki epi ambe tukile michante atawa de la ke nahana pe chuza pelo. Ohe chaje mitawa wamnisha ge toba imacha pi ushumalo makia wuchekia. Kikse apo nitaki epi unchi makauman. Atukashila na wakantanga tateya toba unchi makana makaina. Nakumitaki epi wanagi makpia ktaya ge. Hochoka kta hiopo. Nichop. Mushia kenitaki epi na unchi makao mani ya imayaza pe na ha nitaki epi unchi makao mani chante yoksicha oki achavo ushu chalapo. Atukashila na wakantanka kiksiapo mitaki epi na ha winuksalapi uchakshalapi makaya jape hukshilapi unchinchalapi kushkapi koshkapi chanku washte unkupi wichuzani unkupi. Atukashila na wakantanka Kiksiapo midake pi agichita oyate kizuya ekta wichasha bilen wiapile chanku ashte unkupi. Tikashilana wakanta ga giksiapo midake pi naha. Wapia wichasha pi na wapia wiapi naha nasu washake unku. Naha chante washte unkupi naha. Nari washte unkupi okia chawo ushu wichalapo. My grandfather, we come to you on this beautiful day that you gifted us with these good thoughts to help us understand the importance of the significance of this beautiful day that you presented us with. As we continue to pursue our purpose and our dedication in life, we come to you as humble people to help us understand the importance of our participation in this beauty that you have presented to us as the sun rose this morning. And as we do these things, we pray and we ask that you continue to pity all of those that are in need at this time, especially those that are sick and ill and those that are walking with a mournful heart. We ask that you watch over them and guide them in a good way on this day. We're also grateful and we're mindful of all the efforts of the warrior societies that are out there, the men and the women that put themselves in harm's way each and every day for the sake of this freedom that we sometimes take for granted, but at times like this, we definitely appreciate. We're grateful for all those that are walking this red road of understanding and ask that you help them to realize the importance of maintaining that good sense of balance in their lives and in a good way as we try to convey some of these efforts in which we go forward and to develop our character so that we can become strong, not for the sake of representing ourselves, but for the sake of representing our family, our tribe, our communities, and for the sake of Wola Kota Makasi Tomini, peace all over the world. So as we do these things, my grandfather, we're grateful for this opportunity to again communicate and share with all of our folks that are out there in a good way using this technology. And so we pray and ask that you continue to pity those that are involved, all of our leadership here within the Fort Peck community reservation, Fort Peck reservation, and of course, all the communities across the reservation. So on this day, we ask you in a good way. Oh, mitake oasi, wamakashka oasi.
Oh, Pidama, that's a beautiful prayer.
I keep forgetting about praying for those darn lottery numbers. Oh well, next time I'll do that.
Yeah, Mija. Hit that lotto, man. But I'll still come and podcast with you if I hit that lotto. Okay, so whatever you want to talk about, Dex, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's several things. I just wrote some notes I didn't want to overlook either towards the beginning and sometime before we get off, just announcements more than anything. But what do you want to share with us or talk about today?
Well, it's interesting, some of the things that we've been going through, kind of exercising our freedom again as we have come out of the COVID totally and really wondering how important some of those aspects of being enclosed applies to our freedom. do we take everything for granted and just go back to the way it was, or do we try to understand the importance of opening our minds and our hearts and our spirits to something that we took for granted, and that something it was taken away for a little while. And I'm talking about that freedom. And so when we come back, are we back to the same old, or are we going to adapt and adjust and kind of make a few changes as it relates to what it is that we experienced and what did we learn from it? I think that's a good point to understand. I know that a lot of our people are dealing with and contending with this diversity that is out there based on that uniqueness of who we are as we maintain our language and our cultural protocols in respects to maintaining the integrity of who we are as a people. A lot of people may not understand that, but that's how we started this. It was under COVID for the sake of that ideological paradigm shift, hoping that our people that don't really understand us will have an opportunity to look towards the First Nations people, the people that believe they're indigenous to North American continent, in a manner in which is a little bit more positive, a little bit more understanding in respects to what it is that they experienced at that time of being locked down, because the air got fresh again. There was not so much need of gasoline and all these things, but all these things that I'm talking about, we did it. It can be done. So that tells us it can be done, and so as we do these things and we pursue this attempt to really challenge our young people, the ones that are involved in the podcast here, that they realize the importance of what we're trying to convey here, and that's that critical thought process. Where does it start from? It starts from me. Where do I want to make this change? It starts from me. That man in the mirror. Remember that old Michael Jackson song?
Well, that was my jam.
Yeah, we're jamming to that, But again, there was something being said there about who and what we are, and the effects that one person can have on the whole, for the sake of the greater good. And so as we start addressing those changes, I think it's something that we really can reflect on and realize that these things that we kind of took for granted, just threw trash out the window or just dumped this here, did that there. We had to really clean up our act, so to speak, if you will, for lack of a better word, and to really put some thought into this freedom that we took for granted prior to COVID. And then once it got back, and some of the stresses, some of the thoughts that you had, some of the things that you wanted to do were unable to do, and you were looking forward to, well, if I get to do this again, I'm going to do this. Well, that maybe we should write those things down and really pursue them in a good way. Like a lot of the stuff that goes on in a very fast-paced world, sometimes it takes that effect of a pandemic to make us look at the way we as Indigenous people look at life. We slow down. We understand the importance of keeping up with the Joneses as it relates to paying our bills and having a nice car, having a nice house. Nothing wrong with that. But at the same time, to help us understand the importance of relieving those stresses of everyday life, we need to take a break and kind of slow down and go walk by a river, go walk by moving water, go to a ceremony and just sit there and get in a spiritual way and let your mind just go in a spiritual way for the sake of others as you acknowledge your relatives in a good way and their needs. Or just be out in nature, just enjoy yourself and take time for yourself as you look inwardly as this COVID presented this opportunity to us, and we had to, by law, take advantage of it because they had us locked down, man. And again, it's important that we start looking at how we affect others. That ripple effect, that one little rock in the water, how much it expands out and how much it goes out and does things to people. And I know that in a cultural perspective, we're kind of getting a bad light from my little brother, Wamni, Nathan Chasing Horse. And again, some of the things that he was doing. Well, we have to work through that. We have to understand one person, it doesn't represent all of us. You know what most of our people do in respects to something like that is they don't follow one person. What they're following is they're wishing to follow the protocol of the altar that he carries. And of course, he explained he did this, he had this, he did. And the young man did have something, but he didn't manage it accordingly, or in some cases they would say properly, or in my case, I would say respectfully. And he went in another direction, and it takes care of itself in a natural way. So those things that he's facing, he has to face them himself, not anybody else. But yet others want to make it look like we're all bad, that pan-Indianism perspective. And that's not the way we look at it. That's why we understand the importance of individualism, which is I, me, my, or individuality, which is us, we, and them. And that's the way we look at it, is we do this for the sake of acknowledging the needs of our relatives, not what can I get out of it. That individualism, that's kind of more attitude of entitlement. I want mine. Where's mine? I want this. What can I get out of this for me and all that? No, that's not how we think. And we think other than that. And my little brother went out and he started looking at it as individualism and what was in it for him. And I guess when people try to make this way of life their livelihood, that's what happens, because it's not intended to become a livelihood, as it was kind of pushed on us for the sake of, how you say, some of our old folks really perpetuated that, and that wasn't fair to us that were learning it. My dad wasn't like that. He never asked for money for any of these things. He did them because he could. Again, he was able to do these things, and his life really, he made choices in his life to learn about these things, and then he conveyed them on to me. Well, in that process, we're always, and you'll see various other people that he taught. He didn't just teach me, he taught a whole bunch of my brothers about these things, about this value system. So I can't sit back and say, oh, he gave me this and I'm special because he only gave it to me. No, he gave it to all of us. I have such a group of extended relatives at Tioshpae that is representative of this way of life, that we basically all live the same way. We were very humble people, but at the same time, we understand the importance of sharing these teachings with others, but don't have to sell them. My dad used to tell me, these things I share with you, my boy, he said, you share them in a good way. He said, because they don't belong to you. They belong to everyone. He said, but if they really appreciate that and they like what you're doing and the teachings you've been through, if they want to share a little something with you, then accept it. And he said, even in that, he said, you just kind of help other people out with that as well. He said, that's what giveaways at powwow used to be. And he used a term where they used to tie those bundles up in sheets, and they take them out to the giveaway and they place them out there, and they call a visiting family to come and get this bundle. And so they would take this big old bundle of goods and take it back to their camp. Then they would open it, And when they opened it at their camp, they would share with the camps around them, And that's how those items were dispersed. And so again, that perpetuated that attitude of individuality, us, we, and them. We always took care of each other, and there was a lot of good items in there. Usually at that time, what I'm speaking about, there were staples in there. There was coffee, flour, yeast, some meat in there, and whatever else. But there were some good items in there that were practical things that could be utilized in such a good way in that big bundle. They never opened it up in public. They let the people take it back to their camp and open up, and then they disperse the items at that. So they'd have their own little giveaway back at the camp. So, but that's the way we were taught, and I dare say, generally speaking, that value system was shared with all of my brothers, because we had the same teacher, and it was based on an uncontaminated thought process in respects to what it means to represent the Dakota way of life. And so that we realized that it really didn't impact those of us that lived like that too bad, the way that they were living. because that's how we lived pretty much on our own anyway, and became very independent in that. But we just really wanted to share that, and I thought the podcasts are really a good vehicle to get that mindset across and come some of the principles that we live by to get it across. So I thought it was dandy. You know, in all these things, we can appreciate linear teaching, the reading, writing, and arithmetic. And of course, then we should try to respect the abstract learning as well, the experiential teaching that is afforded us through land-based teachings. And I know, Toshka, that you've really been involved as it relates to representing the Fort Peck Community College in the land-based teachings. I know that they're drum making, quill work, making fry bread, making wojapi, making dry meat, cutting up dry meat. Those are all land-based teachings. And again, what that affords you is an opportunity to realize that sense of balance, that could be achieved by anybody. It's not just there for the sake of the Indian people. It's there for everyone. Because again, one of the issues that really concerns me now, and I try to mention it every time I speak, is this issue of food sovereignty. That's going to become an issue within the city dwelling people, not so much with the res Indians, because we need food. We go out and shoot a buck, go kill a duck, go get. You see all these pheasants on the road now? There's a lot of pheasants. There's a lot of food out there for us. And of course, we have our natural tipsila and various other things that we use for medicines and sustenance, food and whatnot. We know where all those things are on our reservation, so we don't have to really concern ourselves as much as the people in the city do. And so we really need to understand how we manage those things now is going to affect the future. So we really got to become more understanding of how do we manage that sort of principle of looking towards what is our purpose in food sovereignty. Do we learn how to preserve? Do we learn how to cook? Do we learn how to make dry meat? Do we learn how to get the best out of what's there, the berries, the dry meat, the kidney fat, all these things that will make up that wasna, and that wasna is filled with protein and food that we can live on by a pinch a day if you ever stop and think about it, because it's so full of protein and whatnot in that I think they call it wasna. What else do they call it, Tushka? Something.
I think wasna. Sometimes you might hear pemmican, but yeah.
Pemmican, yeah. There you go. That's what I was looking for, that word pemmican. Because the non-Indian people can relate to that, but we call it wasna. And then, of course, having an opportunity to understand even the fat, when they cut the meat for dry meat, they even utilize the fat, the gristle and stuff. They roast that, and that's called wogo in our language. We even utilize that to help us, and to us, that's a delicacy that we utilize and all that good stuff. But the land-based teachings is becoming more and more prevalent amongst even youth university. And again, it's kind of becoming more and more understanding of this whole what would you say, kind of becoming more cultural relevant from our side. Universities can show all these people all this linear stuff, but they're beginning to understand the importance of achieving that sense of balance to become a good human being. And so they're starting to incorporate some of these other things that we just naturally learn on a reservation as it relates to land-based teachings. And of course, that's involved in our life every day, but the universities are starting to recognize the sense of balance that it brings about, to give them an opportunity and a very healthy way to look at life, rather than just applying all your energies towards the linear. They need to kind of take a break, step back sometimes, still feel productive in what you're doing as it relates to the future of not only your people, but that diversity and that uniqueness based on natural law should become an enhancement and enrichment for the sake of the growth of our children. You like that, nephew? Yeah, you know, we can do that. We can do that. But again, that's what some of the things that we're trying to accomplish here at the Fort Peck Community College, kind of set a standard. You know, one of the things that we're really trying to incorporate is the protocols that are involved in this. And all protocol means to us, it's not rules and regulations, but it's more like a guide or a directory as it relates to respecting the existence of whatever it is that we take. If we take a flower for whatever, if we take a tipsela, or if we take a deer or a buffalo, we leave tobacco or ochbagi, we leave that for the sake of that indication of respect. So these things aren't just taken for granted, because again, that promotes that, it perpetuates that whole attitude of spirituality in regards to we don't have any dominion over anything else. We're all the same. That's the philosophical way in which we look at ourselves. And so we share that. Even in picking a plant and picking berries, we offer tobacco first, because under the auspice of, in our language, we say wamakashka. And what that means is everything has a spirit. Everything that the Creator has made has given that particular item a spirit. And so we respect that spirit in that regard. And if you stop and you think about it, it makes sense. And then it affords you an opportunity, rather than just taking something, you're actually it's being shared with you, as it relates to that spirit of that meat or that berry or that medicine or whatever the case may be. That's being shared with you for the sake for you to sustain yourself, providing you sustenance to pursue your purpose and your dedication while you spend time on this Mother Earth. And then you gives you an opportunity to prepare yourself for that mystery of death, not to fear it, but to prepare yourself for it as it's inevitable. We're all going to face that. And so in that preparation, you become stronger by this development of character through not only the linear teachings, but the abstract learning through experiential teachings, which are represented by land-based teachings. We try to incorporate that. So addressing in a linear way that epistemology that's being affected, that pedagogical approach to kind of addressing and finessing the system so that it can really relate to some of these things. Then we begin to understand that, oh yeah, there's something to that. Yes, there is something to that. We're not trying to go back to the wagon days and lantern days. We like our cars, our central air. We like the furnace that keeps us warm. And that's all contemporary stuff, and we love it. But again, we're talking about the principle or the spiritual aspect of how we can really respect these things and really take care of them in a good way and not take advantage of that whole situation. That's all we're trying to convey. What do you think about that? And if you think I'm kind of going in the right direction, or am I just BSing myself?
Oh man, you covered a lot of good stuff in there, man. So like, yeah, what I was thinking of doing was just maybe kind of going back a little bit and reflecting, recapping a few things we did that I think maybe those that have been away from our podcasting, or maybe if you're brand new, what the heck are these guys talking about? We'll do a little recap. So I think back in January we did our last little podcast, right? But I want to say, when was that? About a month ago, we did a presentation, almost like a podcast, right? Where we were featured by the Montana Campus Compact out of Missoula, Montana. Yeah. Yes. They asked each of the tribal colleges in the state of Montana to highlight either curriculum or other community workshops that you're doing. And so we did a quick overview, me and Dexy Tommy here, where we talked about a little bit about the academic side, who the instructors for language and native studies degrees that we have. And then we talked about kind of what we're doing here a little bit, where we talk about mental health. We talk a little bit about cultural protocols a little bit. And then we talked about some of these land-based learning experiential opportunities with the, say, the buffalo hunt that we were going to do, the drum making, all these different workshops. And so by the end of that 2-hour long presentation, we got a lot of positive feedback. I think we did. I thought it was really well received. And in fact, towards the end, when we opened it up to comments, there was some people that I think they were out of state. There was like 400 or 500 people, I believe, that were on the webinar. But there was some individuals, I think, from Portland State University that were really interested in developing or enhancing land-based learning curriculum. The idea was Ojibwe, but like there's this need to kind of like extend and share the knowledge even in the university system. So that was really cool. It was good to get some feedback for that. And we also did a gig for the American College Fund on mental health and wellness. So that was pretty well received. And then since then, we've had just a slew of other things. We had a buffalo hunt finally. Remember back December 21st was our original buffalo hunt day. Got pushed back because of the weather, but when you're a buffalo chaser, you persist. You think they might not have always hunted out in the middle of winter. Usually that was a summer, fall activity. Then you prepare for that long walk through winter. But sometimes we're kind of weak to go here. And sometimes we go right in the middle of winter and we go out there. We did our best, but we learned from it. It was really probably one of the highlights of my career at the college, really. And then really like an important event that's happened to me personally was just being a part of that without trying to be all dramatic and all this stuff. But I really enjoyed being a part of the first annual harvest. And I use the word harvest because it wasn't really a hunt per se, right? We weren't out there like sneaking around the hills, popping up over the rocks with sagebrush in our hair. It was nothing like that. But we harvested in a good way a buffalo. But even that there's room for learning and growing moving next year because we're dealing with a different mentality sometimes when we have to engage in those things. And I don't necessarily want to go down that path right now, but I do think that we did a really good job of reaching out to the community, engaging with them. And man, talk about an enormous, beautiful animal. Those Greyhawk boys, they're like professionals, man. Ching, 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 slice that sucker up, and we were good to go. And so, and that's a whole process in and of itself. We didn't want to let anything go to waste. And I'm grateful to even individuals like yourself that were there to help give us some guidance. And we had a good pipe ceremony, and I felt really good about that part. But there's still a lot of work to do with the animal. We have this really nice cultural like workshop area out east of town that's basically dedicated to like experiential land-based like hands-on learning workshops. It's basically like a warehouse to put all our teepees, all our supplies for harvesting, hunting, for all that stuff. In fact, we even had a hand drum making workshop where we had one of our students. He's also a Fort Peck Community College board member and a Fort Peck Tribes board member, Justin Greyhawk. He came and helped out, so that was good. But we featured him in hand drum making. That was pretty successful. And this past weekend, I helped out with a quiver and bow case making workshop. And so those are, and we do our best to really highlight what we're doing. So that way we continue to get support from our granting agencies that help fund us, that provide these opportunities to connect with the community members. We purposefully try not to make the workshops courses. It's not like an academic setting. I'm not out there going, oh, actually, Tommy, that was a B- the way you cut that sage right there. But it's not, we don't want to create that vibe, man. We want this to feel buffalo chaser like. We want you to relax, have a good time. And so that's kind of the whole reason why we do community extension workshops. Regardless of age, all that type of stuff, you're all welcome to participate. Sometimes just due to supplies, like limited resources, transportation, sometimes we can't always accommodate every single individual, but we do our best to keep it open to everybody. And so we have one more series in this cultural workshop series that the granting agency was the American Indian College Fund, where they were able to pay for these master artists to come out and make it really worth their while. That's what I really like about the American College Fund, is that they're able to fund the master artists properly, not like a little, here's $15 an hour, you know, stretch it out over. No, you really got to take care of them, because what they have is specialized knowledge. And so through the help of some of these granting agencies, we're able to take care of them in a good way. And so today, Monday through Friday, from 5 to 8 p.m., the Grita Dawn Auditorium, we have Fernando. He goes by White Crow Galbado, but Fernie, he's a really talented artist, but he's doing quilling workshop. Those of you that are already registered, that starts tonight. Meals provided. And then another important thing that we really important project that we've been a part of. Actually, Tommy's kind of definitely played a leadership role within that, and Dr. Joe McGeeshik and several others here at the college have worked with a company called Thresh First Voices, is what I believe the project is called, but the company I believe is called Thresh. And they're going to be highlighting 3 unique stories. And hop on in here at any point in time. I'm just shooting from the hip here, but I believe it's 3 unique stories from Fort Peck that represent the cultural heritage, the rich cultural heritage of the Fort Peck tribes, the Assiniboine, the Sioux, and also the Chippewa. And so I believe the Sioux, Lakota, Dakota story would be the White Buffalo Calf Woman. Yeah. That's one story that's going to be featured, almost like documentary style. The second story will be a story of the Assiniboines' plight dealing with smallpox epidemic in the 1800s. I forget the name of that cave up north of Wolf Point. Rocky Point, Galbado. Yeah. And I know you're knowledgeable about that, and I believe Mr. Mike Tricott narrated part of that story. They filmed them when they were here last week, so that's really cool. And then also there's going to be an Anishinaabe or Chippewa story that's featured. I don't know the details on that, but those are the 3 stories that will be highlighted with some professional guidance. A professional product will come towards the end. But the cool part was that we're looking for these 6 students to intern that can be part of this. And so we're still actively recruiting and seeking 6 Fort Peck Community College students where you can be part of this project, either by learning how to record and film or storyboarding. Wherever your talents are, you can almost shadow a true professional and learn about the whole process, what goes on behind the scenes, in front of the scene, all that type of stuff with true professionals. And so awesome opportunity for our students. I definitely want them to jump at this opportunity, because not only will you be able to get that experience, but you'll receive a course credit. I believe
in that, Toshka, it's going to be directed for the young people perspective. We want the young people, the high school students, and of course the community college students, to get involved and really share a story from the White Buffalo Calf and the Rocky Point, from how they perceived it, and tell that story themselves, not without the adult influence, but because we need to know how they're seeing these things, how they're hearing them, how they're applying them to their life. But just come in and generally say, well, this is what I think about White Buffalo Calves. This is what I think about Rocky Point. This is what I think about jingle dresses. Just a story that I come off the top of my head. But we want the students to take control of that, and all these professionals that you have here. That's going to be done by, again, the collaborative efforts of AICF and, of course, First Voices. First Voices is a company out of New York City. They're professionals, and they want to come in and really facilitate that, but at the same time, let these young people have play a part in that. I went down and I talked with my buddy Tahashi, my cousin, Orville looking horse, and I offered him tobacco. Well, you were there, Toshka, that time, and I asked him if it would be all right to do this, and he gave us a go ahead. And he said what he shared with me at that time. He said, we need our young people to get involved. We need our young people. So yes, he said, I promote that 100%. Get our young people involved in these different things. And so based on that, that's where we want the young people to really tell the story, listen to the story, tell it as they see it in their own words, and then just put that out there on display, if you will. But it will be from their hearts, their minds, their spirit, and how they perceive that. With a lot of this contemporary influence, but let it apply to them. We don't want to, as adults, we don't want to control it, but we can make it, we can facilitate it so they would have a vehicle in which they can share with everybody. And I think it's really going to work out well. They did it once already in Northern Cheyenne, and that turned out dandy. It was, I think, the Big Dipper story or something like that. But those young kids did a fantastic job, even drew their own drawings and stuff, which was really cool. And again, that's a part of their perception on how they see, how they hear, how they feel this these stories affect them, or it doesn't affect them. But whatever the case may be, whatever they want to share, it's totally in their hands. And so but at the same time, the adults will facilitate the professional side, and then we'll include Fort Peck Community College students or high school students that are involved in videography or whatever the case may be, like what you were saying, Toshka, the storytelling or whatever, how to do that. They're also going to have shadows of those young people and be shadowing those professionals so that they can learn that aspect of putting a dramatic story, if you will, to bring into actuality, kind of like that. It's going to be a beautiful thing once it gets going. So I think for Fort Peck Community College to be involved at this level is something that's really going to be a blessing. And again, I just wanted to add, in respects to that, like the buffalo hunt we went on, that educational process was reciprocal. We were learning just as much about the buffalo as we were trying to help them understand our responsibilities to taking that, harvesting that buffalo. But they even taught us more than what we were going out there for. So I thought that reciprocity was really important and key. And then from that, now we can represent our college, our Buffalo Chaser Society in a more, little bit philosophical approach, if you will. You know what I mean, Toshka? Kind of get that all presented. Now we know what their responsibilities are, because we're not there to tell them what to do. They were there to share with us and how we take a buffalo and what we need to accommodate. Well, we can apply our value system into that as being buffalo chasers and being a part of that Tatanka Kuapi Opola Kichie, kind of like that, eh? And then that representation, then they'll see that, oh, hey, we're representing in a respectful way the takedown of the buffalo, the harvesting of a buffalo. Yeah. So I just want to throw that in there, Toshka. Go ahead.
Oh, you know, and then one of the unsung heroes that's part of all of this is Dr. Joseph McGeeshik. He was really behind the scenes, mover and shaker, connecting all the dots for the raising the funding and identifying all these true professionals, connecting them back home here at Fort Peck. And so we really want to tip our hat to him. He was really helpful with that. And I've noticed he's been sharing. He said what he wants to see come out of this was that there's one of those your favorite movies. What's that show? Dances with Wolves. He said he wants to make Dances with Wolves look like Woody Woodpecker. That's what's going to happen. We're going to do such a good job with this, telling our story, the young people. It's going to make Dances with Wolves look like Woody Woodpecker. So
Lieutenant
Dunbar. Yeah. So, but back to I had a little oversight. I would be remiss if I did not mention how the Buffalo Chasers podcast now has what you call a mini pod of the podcast. I didn't even know that was a thing, but there's this thing called the TIPWIC. We got another grant for it. It stands for Tribal Practices for Wellness in an Indian Country. So when you hear me say TIPWIC, that's what I'm referring to. Just for anybody out there in the the Ethernet out there. That's what it is. So Tipwick, co-branded because we have such a good following and we're already kind of established with the Buffalo Chasers podcast. A mini pod is being hosted. I just listened to the trailer earlier today. Did you get a chance to listen to that one, Dexy?
That's it.
Okay, yeah. I'll share it with you later, but it went out to the employee emails. I think it's on our Facebook page as well, but it's going to be an audio version only. It's only going to be every so often, maybe once a month, every couple of weeks. It's going to be narrated by Tipwick director, Samantha Azure. And so she created went through this whole process, and she even has like background music where she's walking in the snow and everything. She's narrating. And so, but I believe it's called Tending to Our Medicines. And so I think that was kind of cool. It represents that balance that we're striving for. Because sometimes me and Dex, man, we're really we're very Dakota Wichakcha. Okay, the way we talk about them, that's good, right? And so I really like having another WIA perspective, so that way they can talk about those things. There's another platform and supporting a young Indigenous lady. I'm really
Cool.
for, so that's really cool. Also, what do we got going on here? Oh, back to the Thresh First Voices project. So the college students, those 6 students that are identified, if you're interested, get a hold of, I believe, Lori Smoker at the library. She's accepting applications or whatever. She'll kind of give you an overview of what you can expect and if you're eligible or not. But if you do complete it and you're selected, I believe there's a cash award. So if that's what you're interested in, definitely let us know. Also, on Wednesday, March 29th, FPCC College and Career Fair from 9 o'clock till noon over in the Greet the Dawn Auditorium. We're going to have over 60 vendors. 60 vendors. Okay. And they're not selling you tacos or hot dogs. They're selling you education. They're selling you internships and job employment opportunities from around the region and around the nation, really. So if that's of interest to you, it's not just for Fort Peck Community College students. We've invited all the local area high schools, but it's definitely for our college students, but it's really for anybody. So if you're interested, check that out. There's going to be scholarship drawings. Fort Peck Community College will have a booth over there as well. Have some giveaway items, t-shirts, all that type of stuff. But please do not forget about that. Mark your calendars. Also on April 4th, Tuesday from 12 to 2 p.m. Again, Greet the Dawn Auditorium. The University of Montana is going to be sending a delegation over to Fort Peck Community College, and they want to speak to you, the students. And so they have a president. His name's can't pronounce his name, man. President Boschnar or something like that. He's going to be over here and he wants to hear from you guys. And so they want to recruit you guys. So definitely take advantage of that opportunity. Then also, are we good on time? We're good on time. I'd like to do a little recap of the AHEC Student Conference. So AHEC Student Conference, that was March 4th through the 7th. Oh man, that was quite the experience. So we got 3 vans, and then we had a truck, and we loaded up 20 plus students and employees, and we all made a journey, and we headed south. And then that first night of just traveling, we drove from here all the way to Colorado Springs. So we get to Colorado Springs about 7 o'clock, with the idea being that we get there, we're refreshed, get up in the morning. From Colorado Springs to Albuquerque, New Mexico, 5-6 hour drive. And then we get there, plenty of time, check in our hotels, all that type of stuff. So we get to Colorado Springs and we pull into a hotel. We try to check in. Here they could only check in a couple of our students. Here come to find out we were in 4 different hotels scattered all throughout Colorado Springs. So that was quite how we started off our journey. But after that little mix-up, we finally got everybody situated. It was about 12 o'clock by the time I got in our hotel. We got up the next morning, and we made it into Albuquerque. No problems, right downtown. And for 3 days straight, we competed in numerous events. We had about 15 of our students competed in things like hand game competition, speeches, one act play, math bowl, science bowl, all this different type of stuff, business bowl, art. So it was really cool to watch our students be a part of that and compete against 30 other tribal colleges and universities from across Indian country. What happened the last day of the event on that Wednesday, I think it was March 7th, accumulated in an awards banquet where we all sat there. We all sat with our colleges, and they announced the winners of all the different categories. And so I wanted to recognize our hand games, Fort Peck Community College Buffalo Chasers hand games team for taking 3rd place. That was really awesome. They went all the way up to the very end and had to work up through the losers bracket, but they did a really good job. One of our students was given Best Guesser Award. So if you don't understand hand games, it's basically a guessing game competition, right? And so at the awards banquet, there was an individual, one of our students, that had never played hand games until he got down there. Never played it ever. So he goes down there, and his name's Jared Pipe. And Jared Pipe got a crash course on what it's all about. And then during the awards banquet, man, he was really going to town, really eating that steak and that Bordeaux and all that stuff. And I heard that announcer, he said, and the winner of the 2023 Best Guesser Award for hand games goes to Jared Pipe, Fort Peck Community College. He looked up, he's like, me? And he kind of waddled up there. I was like, no, he didn't expect it. So it was really cool. He got some recognition, got his pictures with all the big wigs up there. And so awesome opportunity for Jared. We also had one act play. I don't know if you've seen our one act play. We put it up. We live on Facebook. We had Cody Eagleman, Cheyenne Foote, and Jordis Ferguson went up there, and they ended up taking 3rd place. But I thought that was so cool that some of our elders got up in front of a group of people and talked about their family history. And then while Jordis was narrating her family tree, she talked about I think her father or grandfather was like Chet or somebody going up to Wood Mountain, how they kind of came back to Fort Peck, and then Cody and then Cheyenne were dancing the whole time. So it was really kind of cool to watch.
All her relatives, those are her great grandmother. That's my great grandmother too.
Oh, cool.
They were Emma and Katie were sisters, and Emma was my grandmother and Katie was her sister, so she's my great grandmother as well. So, and that's Jordis's great grandmother, because her dad was my uncle.
Oh, cool.
George. Yeah, we all come from Wood Mountain, eh?
Oh, right on. Yeah, well, she did you guys right, because she beautiful job of narrating, and I thought that was really cool. And then who else do we have? We had Luann Forbear took 1st in star quilt making.
Star quilt, yeah.
I think was it Cheyenne or Jordis took 2nd in star quilt making. I forget which one. And then that's all I can remember. But several awards. From my experience working at the college, it's the most accolades, I guess, our students have ever received for the event. So that was really awesome. And everybody that went down there, we got them all back. And that's my main job, is to get everybody back. Because Albuquerque, at nighttime, that could be kind of a crazy place, but it was good for everybody to get out. I thought it was a good experience. And then one other event coming that looms large in what we do and why we do here at Fort Peck Community College is our graduation commencement ceremony is May 12th, 2023. It's going to be at the Wolf Point Gymnasium. Master of
That was the 22nd.
May 12th. None other Master of Ceremony, none other than Mr. Tommy Christian. Yes, so we locked him in because he's a very sought-off MC. So hopefully there's no conflict in his schedule. It looks like he thought it might have been the 22nd, but yeah, May 12th is still good. Okay, right on. So we're still searching for some commencement speakers, getting everything lined up, but I believe we have 80 or 90 some graduates scheduled to walk. But anyways, those are some of the highlights, and we could kind of take a deep dive in those maybe next week or the week after. There's just really so much content. Anything else you want to share, Dex, about any of those things? Or anything else?
No, it's just that the representation was so dignified and honorable when all those our representatives went to Albuquerque. I thought no negative stories, nothing, just a lot of encouragement from other colleges as well. A lot of good networking going on there. But again, got to share a lot of good things, and so our representation represented us in an honorable, dignified way. And so that's what Buffalo Chasers Tatanka Kuapi Okola Kichia is all about. Hey, that dignity and that honor, and they did us proud, man. Right on. Thank you.
And one other event I forgot to mention real quick was that during the AHEC student conference, the American College Fund, usually during the course of that conference, at some point they have a banquet specific for not during the awards banquet, but the day, that Monday before, where they recognize the student of the years from all the distinctive tribal colleges. And so Fancy Jackson was the individual from Fort Peck Community College that was selected as the student of the year from Fort Peck Community College. She was recognized during that ceremony amongst her peers. So we wanted to send her a shout out and recognize her for her outstanding academic, but also her leadership traits and her cultural engagement within her community and her family that she's demonstrated. And so that's why, in part, why she was selected for Student of the Year. So congratulations to Fancy. Did you have anything else you want to share, Dex?
No, I'm good, nephew. Oh man, it's been a while since we've been on. So
a little rusty. I'm a little rusty.
We covered lots.
Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate you joining us, Dex. Have a great day. Mitake pi dokta ke wachia kapik te do ampetu washte hapo.
Oh, niche.
Hey ha ya hey ha ya hey ha hey ha ya hey ya hey ya